I got a new book. Hi everyone! Today I want to show you the new book I got from Hannah Karlzon, and that's her Halloween book. It came in the mail recently. This is the Swedish edition of the book, and I'm so excited to flip through this and look at it with you. As I do so, I'm going to be counting how many pumpkins there are, because upon my initial inspection, it seems like there are quite a few pumpkins in this book. So just to give you a look at the cover itself has a pumpkin, and it's beautiful with some gold foiling on it, and the pumpkin, I guess vine continues to the back into a gorgeous design with a leaf on it, and so it just has this nice continuity between the front and the back covers. Let's jump right in and go through the pages as I explain the wonderful spookiness I can find and go on my little pumpkin hunt. So I'm going to go through this and give a commentary flip through. I've only really quickly flipped through it once on my own, so most of this will be pretty much my first self-impression. So it starts off with your tiny little image over there of a little pumpkin. So this will really be good for that how many pumpkins hashtag. And it's similar to Good Yule, which had just a little stocking. So in terms of the structure of her format, it's very similar to what you had here. The paper is that same paper, that's the Swedish thickness. It's not as thick as the Dutch editions. It's something that I've noticed, or even some of the other editions. So for example, I have the Dutch edition of Soulmates, and the paper here for Pin Test is really thick compared to this paper. It's like a bit higher pitched, so you can see that's just a tiny bit thinner. But that's kind of the same paper that you have with any of the direct Swedish editions. Like all of these have that same paper. So if you have the Swedish edition, it'll be the same experience, I guess. But if it's possible for it to ever be published by any of the Dutch, that I think would be gold, because that's the best paper I found for Hannah's coloring books. So here we have a wonderful zombie hand with some great nails, just kind of like poking out of the ground with this book belongs to, on like this rotting piece of tomb / paper. And then she comes into a portrait with her typical Hannah portraits, but this one is of a bat. And so you can have like your fangs hanging out of the lips here, and then on top of the head you have some bat wings growing. So those are some things that make it unique. It also has a little spirit animal of a bat here on the side with the similar extra long vampiric like fangs. And I really like that the brooch here has your crossbones on it. So again, Hannah's just really good at these attention to minor details, which really makes her coloring come alive. Over here we see another instance of Hannah coming into a small victory style little vignettes, and so here we have a series of 9 different haunted houses altogether. And these ones are of a mix of different reasons for the haunt, from your regular ghosts to your werewolf, to your kind of scared looking ghost over there, to your skeleton, to your cats and your witch hanging off of the house over there. It's a big witch for a small house, I must say. And yeah, so just cute little haunted house vignettes on this side. And if we're going to count pumpkins, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I guess 6 pumpkins so far, and we've just started. Here we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 pumpkins. All right, already up to 19 pumpkins. Very, very pumpkin-filled book. So here we have our little poltergeists, and they seem to have this really, really cool dynamism where they're melting a bit like a wax candle. And they are mixed between these melty poltergeists, and then you have some skulls thrown in as well, some hands that come up, and then your regular looking cute ghosts as well. So it's just like a really cool mix of all of these different ones put together. And then here we have our witch with her cat standing in what seems to be like a cool doorway, and surrounded by some sunflowers. And so you can almost imagine this being maybe like a portal page. So it could just kind of be like a portal to another dimension in this little arc here. So it would be interesting to color it that way. Like what if this was just like a dark forest here, and then here you have like sort of like swirls, like a portal looking thing behind her. So there's different ways of kind of imagining this little scene and this setup too. What I like about how Hannah Karlzon deals with these is that she kind of breaks out of frame slightly, and that adds just so much more interest to something when you have an image extend beyond the frame like that. So moving on, we now have a tea kettle set up with some nice little mushrooms and more ghosts coming out of the mushrooms. I suppose instead of counting for pumpkins, you could be counting for ghosts in this book and turn it into a hashtag of how many ghosts, because there are definitely quite a few ghosts there. But in terms of number of pumpkins, we're 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So up to 27 pumpkins already over here. It's wild. And next, look at that. 28, another pumpkin, up to 28 pumpkins between these two pages. So it's really cool that in these ones here you have a very symmetrical mandala, and you have like a really nice fall leaf along with your skull and this kind of like jaggedy thing with your bones, your ghosts, and your mushrooms kind of thrown in. So she's really hitting all of these fall elements, or you could say all of these Halloween elements very, very hard in this book, and creating some really, really nice drawings and also a nice varied drawings too. So this is what I would call maybe like a items page, or like almost like a wallpaper page. We have a bunch of random items, but they're not really placed in an order that would make sense as a as like a little scene. And so this one here could be fun to just like have just like arbitrary colors in the background. You have your bloody soda for your vampire spewing out here, your booed candy over here. So I guess it's kind of like all the scary candy you might have for trick-or-treat shown up over here. So counting for pumpkins, I have 29. And if I miss any, you must let me know. And I guess 30, 31. So up to 31 pumpkins so far. And this cute side here are our little scarecrows. And it's kind of funny that she has her head taken off, but she looks so cute. You know, it's weird that you can turn a scarecrow of like a beheaded pumpkin-headed scarecrow. I guess it's just like this rictus grin, and the fact that it seems to be like looking towards the male scarecrow a little bit more, but they look really cute and they look really happy and they look like they're having loads of fun. So now we have a locket and a key, and all of it is sort of skull themed. So you have your skull and crossbones here, and that's juxtaposed against a little witchy bureau, where you have all of these different witchy elements, a happy little cat just taking a little snooze, all of your little potions, again, your sunflowers and your spider webs. And let's count for pumpkins. So none there, obviously. But over on this side, we're at 31, so that's 32, 33, 34. I don't see any in there. I don't see any here. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So we are up to 41 pumpkins so far. I love that she includes all of these sunflowers, by the way. Just such beautiful flowers to throw in. As well. And if you want to, instead of making them yellow, why don't you make them like black petaled sunflowers, like flip the colors, make them inverted. All right, and so now we have our trick-or-treaters, and these are humans plus a cat dressed up in different costumes to go trick-or-treating. And you have other familiars thrown in, such as like a frog familiar as well. And it's nice that they're kind of carrying, you know, the little candy bags and nice little skull streamers and cute things like that. And I love how she has like those hats on those little toads too. And you have a little witch as well within the mix, as well as some little ghosts that are helping light their way. And so if we count for pumpkins, pumpkin costume, so that's one there. Pumpkin candy holder thingy. help me out with vocabulary. I didn't actually grow up trick-or-treating because it was not a thing where I grew up. But help me out. What's that thing called? Just like a candy box, a candy bag? Like, what do you carry when you carry the thing that holds the candy when you go trick-or-treating? I'd appreciate knowing. All right, sorry, sidetracked. So lost track of my mushrooms. So I was at 41 so far. So I'm coming in at 42 and 43. So only 2 pumpkins over on this double page spread. All right, so looking over to the next, you have a wonderful kind of like portrait of a pumpkin-headed lady. I think this is one of my favorite pages, by the way. Next to, almost like your Christmas page, some hanging decorations, also with pumpkins, and a death head moth over on this side. I think this is one of my favorite ones because I just love like the lacy effect that it has going on. And I'm just imagining if I could just make this into various shades of like blacks, greens, and golds together. Like what if this was like a black pumpkin head instead of always having like an orange pumpkin? And I think that could look really cool. And I do really like how she's including tons of these death head moths. I think coloring moths is always really gorgeous, and so throwing that in is nice too. And she has quite a few of these like femur bones in her art style for this book is what I'm noticing. All right, so pumpkins, I'm at 43, so that's 44, 45, and 46. So 46 pumpkins so far with my pages. This here is a beautiful vignette that has 4 different snakes around some crystals. So very witchy, I guess, because these crystals, I'm guessing, is kind of like a spell if it's tied with this little rope here. And you can really work on your crystal work here, especially because they're big enough. Like this is sort of like the length of my finger here, and it's like the width of 1.5 of my fingers. So it just gives you enough space to just really work on those different facets of the crystals. And that's juxtaposed against a pumpkin house. There's so many pumpkins in this book. Oh my goodness. So this is a pumpkin house with a pumpkin house growing on the pumpkin next to a bunch of pumpkins, with some pumpkins with faces and some regular pumpkins, and tons of shrooms, as well as some of your sunflowers with even more mushrooms growing on top of it, and a ladybug just thrown in there as well. 2 ladybugs actually thrown in there. 3. All right, so a couple of ladybugs as well. So if I were to do my pumpkin count, 0 on this page. It feels like it's very rare at this point to have a page without a pumpkin in it. But I was at 46, some 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58 pumpkins, up to 58 pumpkins in the book so far. Moving on to my next 2 pages, more beautiful moths, and this is a nice little vignette with a flower basket, and I really love how you have your 3 little ghosties kind of like marching along the top in a row. I don't know why, but that's just absolutely adorable that they're just kind of there, and they look a bit shocked. Maybe they weren't expecting this ribbon to kind of be in their way, and they're not sure how to pass it to continue on their journey down, and more of your beautiful big sunflowers as well. Am I to believe my eyes that this is the first double page spread, as in 2 pages next to each other, where I don't see a single pumpkin? All right, so this must be the pumpkin-free page of the whole book. And then on this side, you have your flying bat, but then you have these frogs with wings making their derpy little faces, like an absolutely adorable spread on this side too. I think that this might turn into my favorite of Hannah Karlzon's books that I own so far, except maybe for Soulmates, because I adore Soulmates, but just the creativity in how she's interpreting all of these Halloween elements and then giving it to you with so many different variations of the same elements, I think is really cool. All right, the pumpkins are back with a pumpkin portrait using my regular Hannah portraits. This one's interesting is that the lips are different than what she normally does. I would say that for quite a few of her portraits, the lips are a lot thinner than that, and the eyebrows are a lot thinner than that as well. So I guess she's modifying some of her facial structures a tiny bit too. And next to it, you have a 2-headed raven, which seems to have some kind of like fire burning around their eyes against a full moon, and on their neck, maybe this is like a love charm, because there's like a heart on their necklace and there's two little potion bottles. So maybe like the backstory here is that this is like, I don't know, the magic spell to make people fall in love on Halloween. I don't know. I'm making it up. Ooh, more pumpkins. Even her earrings are pumpkins. All right, so last time was 58. So 59, 60. 1, 2, 3. I think that's a pumpkin. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16, so 60 plus 16 is 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. So there are 82 pumpkins now in this book so far, and none on this page. All right, moving on. A page dedicated to pumpkins and a page with no pumpkins. So here again we have our small little vignettes laid out in an orderly row. And these ones are different pumpkins in various stages of being a pumpkin. So this one here just looks super unhappy and like worried about what on earth happened and very derpy with half of the teeth missing. This one here looks like he's having the time of his life, just kind of like burning with a big grin on his face. This one here looks kind of grumpy. This one here looks shocked that he's covered in little warts and molds. He's probably like, oh my gosh, give me some skincare, please. And this one here has a baby pumpkin on them. So I would say it looks like 9 at the get-go, but there's 10, 11, 12. So there's actually 12 pumpkins here. So 82 plus 12 is 94. So I'm up to 94 pumpkins now. And on this side, we have another little impy, maybe it's a trick-or-treater, but he's holding like a burning branch. And you can see your little ghosty fire ghosts coming out of it. And he's winking at you for some reason. I'm not sure if this is meant to be a wink, because normally when you wink, like the rest of your features smush a tiny bit, right? Like you have wrinkles around the side of your face that's doing that. It almost looks like this person's eye is just closed. I don't know, maybe they have like a black eye. I'm not sure. But there you go. That's a little Halloweener with a very blank background. So you can kind of decide what you want to do for that blank background. Moving on, so you have some creepy flowers, not sunflowers this time, but these ones have like eyeballs in the center of the flowers. And next to that, you have a cute little frog having a little stall. It's almost like a little, I don't know, farmer's market stall. Super cute, and the roof of the stall is a mushroom, on top of which there's a bunch of more mushrooms. And of course you have quite a few pumpkins, and this little like froggy toady witch is wearing a little cape, has a very long witch's cap with some stars at the end. They have some ghosty jars with little ghosts in the jars, candles, so on and so forth. So if I were to count the mushrooms here, I'm at 94. So that's 95, 96. 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 2, 3, 4, 104 pumpkins. And I'm counting these as well. There could be other squash, but I don't know, I'm putting them in. All right, that's 104 so far, and a couple of extra little bugs thrown in at the bottom as well. I do love these bugs. I think they're very cute. All right, next, we have a series of potions, and it's a double-page spread of all of the different potions together. What's cool about it is that she throws on a mandrake root, and I don't think I've ever seen a mandrake root in anything referenced other than like Harry Potter lore. You even have kind of like a candelabra, but the bottom of it is like some kind of bird foot. You can have your like 3 front and then the back foot, like because birds kind of have like that back claw thing and then 3 front. So it's like a bird-footed chandelier, or sorry, candelabra. And even this candelabra here has a little bat in it too. So yeah, just kind of like a cool mix of things. You have your first lizard and a very broken looking moon. This moon looks like it's seen better days. A couple of moths, a leaf, a couple of trapped ghosts as well. But I don't think I see any pumpkins on these pages. Yeah, I think this is a second pumpkin-free combo page. All right, so moving on. We now come towards yet another trick-or-treater, this time a young witch with two familiars, her cat and her toad. And next to it, you have a full spread of a death head moth. And so these are real moths, by the way, that have like a design at the back, which looks a bit like a skull. So they're called the death head moth. They're really, really cool. What's interesting about this trick-or-treater is that she seems to be like surrounded by puffy smoke. And it's like all of these like foggy clouds and bubbles and stars and ghosts and pumpkins in the clouds. There's a bunch of floating pumpkins around my girl here. And she has some torn up stockings as well, which is cute. All right, so from 104, I have 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 13, 14, 15. I have 115 pumpkins so far in the book. And I love how this death head moth, by the way, seems to be covered in spider webs, and you can even see the little spider over here. As we continue, this seems to be the first I've ever seen of this style with Hannah Karlzon. It looks almost like a sticker to me because it's very two-dimensional and it has like an outline around everything, and you have like a very scary kind of like angry cat. So it'll be cool to kind of like deal with this, maybe just have it look a bit more like a decoupage, two-dimensional. I don't know. It reminds me of like a sticker you might put on a Harley Davidson motorbike. I don't know why, it's just giving me those vibes. Anyway, and it's next to a haunted house with a ginormous moon surrounding the haunted house. You seem to have a little, I don't know, is this a vampire creature? Is that like a little gremlin cute creature? But at the front, you have a little ghost at the front of the house with a little halo around its head. So I don't know if he's there to ward you away or to welcome you in. Your trees have little ghosty faces in the trees, but here you have a little owl in the tree nook. So I think it'll be really fun to color these pages because as you're coloring them, I think you'll randomly discover a detail you did not know was there. And of course, we have some pumpkins. I don't see pumpkins anywhere else except down here. So from 115, I have 116, 17, 18, I'm losing count. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. I'm counting 128. It's a bit weird because you also have some big like stones here, but I'm only counting it if I can see a little stem. So yeah, so these ones are pumpkins, but I don't think that that is a pumpkin. I don't think that that's a pumpkin either. So only if I see like stems, is it a pumpkin? And that brings me to 126 pumpkins in the book so far. Coming here, we have a very overflowing, is this like supposed to be like a chocolate soda sundae? Because you have like your little sticks and like, it looks like whipped cream, except it's made of things like eyeballs and a couple of skulls as well in it. So you have like your goopy drink. And then here we have some trick-or-treaters surrounded by some very fall-like elements. So this almost reminds me of going in some of those corn mazes. It seems to be like some kind of like a straw like thingy around them that frames them, but they're sorry, I'm losing words. My trick-or-treaters here are not humans. They seem to be animal anthropomorphized characters as well. And they are, I love the patchwork clothing. She seems to have that quite often in the works here. So from 126 pumpkins, I'm at 127, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So I'm at 141 pumpkins so far. Okay. So this is where we have sort of like a Frankenstein-esque portrait on this side with some shroomies with some slugs that have bat wings on them. So again, having like a bit of a mishmash of characters. And for another cute hidden touch, here's a tiny worm coming out of this little mushroom and another little ladybug there. So here we have some pumpkins interspersed with skulls, again in some kind of like foamy array. And this one's kind of like surrounding my zombie Frankenstein character here. And he seems to have like, you know, the little Frankensteinian neck piercings, some like stitches, and like another like head piercing as well, coming in. And so for my pumpkin count with 41, I have 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, and none on this side. So 146 pumpkins so far. Coming in now, we have a second mandala, and next to it we have a witch kind of going through a little haunted forest. A scene that's very similar, I think, in some of the ones you can find in the Tales from the Witch's Cottage. I don't own that book, but I've seen it enough times that you can kind of see that. And you have more little critters and bugs this time on this page on all of my different toadstools. And again, a couple of skulls thrown in as well. But I don't believe I see any pumpkins on this side. She seems to be leading the way with a candle, but is followed by all of these ghosts. And I don't know if these ghosts are like following her, like she's leading them, or they're a bit scared of her, so they're kind of like looking at her from behind as she's passing. To what extent is she aware of them? Because she seems to be like very confidently moving forward. To be determined, the relationship between our young lady and the ghosts. But on this side of my mandala, you have a spider web, and it seems to be like a web-like mandala. So starting with the spider, you have some bats thrown in, and then of course some pumpkins as well. So from 46, I have 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. So 154 pumpkins so far. All right, next we have a little orb, and next to it some circusy, clowny creatures, people. So the orb here has a RIP and a raven, and I'm wondering what these dates signify. Here we have 1701, 1721, and 1614. If any of you can think of the significance of any of those, let me know, because I'm curious as to why she would pick those three dates as well. We have a skull with some sad angel wings, and then a little heart here. And yeah, your little raven with nicely framed by these like dead branches around these three tombstones, and no pumpkins this time. And we do have two pumpkins here, so that brings me up to 156 pumpkins so far. And they seem to be surrounded by a little stage from the little like Cirque du Soleil act, maybe. Yeah, because you have your wonderful curtains that seem to be pulled back, a big bat kind of like framing the center, and then your nice little frame around the stage as well. We're coming into a witch who is very witchy. Like, look at those hands. I think those are the witchiest hands I've seen from Hannah's work. And she's brewing like a potion filled with curious bugs, which are looking around it. Huge eyeballs. The eyeballs are as big as the skulls. So I wonder how big the skull is that she took the eyeballs from. And her expression is a lot darker. I don't know how Hannah got that. Maybe it's just because like the lips are a bit thinner. Or the eyes seem to be pointing down a tiny bit, but the expression of the witch here is not the friendliest, I would say. So just a bit of a wicked witch over here brewing, or maybe just like an angry witch who's brewing her little potions over here with her witchy hands. And next to it in a little frame with a bug breaking out of the frame and the candles breaking out of the frame, you have some skulls with candles on top. And again, just surrounded by our curious insects who are wandering around curious in this little Halloweeny universe. And pumpkins. This is now my third double page with no pumpkins. All right, next we have a bat surrounded by a full moon, and this bat has like a crazy forked huge tongue and crazy big ears, and it's holding on to some kind of almost like a vampire skull, because there's little fangs at the ends of the skull. And that's next to another haunted house, and this haunted house here says open. So it seems to be like a happy haunted house. They have like a little eye, like an evil eye to ward off the devil, a bunch of potions, but it seems to be like a happy house because there's little love hearts here, so love potions and spells. This must be like a happy witch who makes a bunch of love potions and tons of potions. Even on the second story, there's storage for even more potions bottles. And it's surrounded by ghosts. So here on the side, you have all of your leaves, and from the leaves, the ghosts are coming out. A little cat, a witch's broomstick, a second cat, and of course some pumpkins. All right, so from 156, I am counting 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 60. Oh my goodness. I was not counting these small ones because I thought they were stones, but those are actually pumpkins. I'm going to go again. So from 156, I have 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78. So I think it's 178. Moving on, we have a series of portraits on a wall, and this looks to be from like a fancy estate. You know, it's like you always have those big houses which have these series of very like proper portraits on the wall, and these have all my ghosty fellows. So a couple of super short, like funky ghosts over here with feet, a cat with a wizardry getup, a little bald vampire, unhappy looking Frankenstein dude, another angry cat, a frog with a wizard getup, a pumpkin. So many pumpkins in this book. A three-eyed lady, a crow with a witch's hat, family of ghosts, angry looking skeleton, and just randomly a moon and a little snake. And then on this side we have like a crazy werewolf head. So it's I don't know if it's like a head that's, you know, a taxidermied head on a wall, because there doesn't seem to be a body attached to it. So I guess if I were to fill this in, maybe I would just kind of like draw a wall to make it look like it's a taxidermied head, and like a little fireplace in the corner, so you're looking at it from that angle to the room. Or I would actually continue it and I would draw the rest of the wolf's body as well, so that it's a live wolf that's not taxidermied. So there's no pumpkins on this side and only one pumpkin on this side, which brings me to 179 pumpkins so far. A beautiful page. This is the fourth double page spread with no pumpkins. I think this is one of my favorites in the book too. And it's this witch that's just floating in this empty, like negative space on her broom. And it's so beautiful because it's a double page spread with the ribbons of her dress, that these little bats, like this bat almost looks like he's holding it up a tiny bit. And so you have these bats and these stars and these like lights and her ribbons, as she's just really calmly floating away into the night with her cat familiar, her little lantern to light her way, her polka dotted socks, and she's just looking up ahead here. So maybe there's like a full moon or star that she's seeing in the sky. And I love this page. I think it's really, really beautifully done. It'll be a good one for Space Timber as well. Moving on, we have a cats with vampire fangs and a beautiful moon collar, framed inside a frame filled with mushrooms, candles, and ghosts and more pumpkins. And on this side, we have like a trick-or-treater, except it's a ghost costume that's made out of like a patchwork quilt. It's adorable. Just, it's so ratty and patchy, and like, you know, the edges torn over here, and here's like a little lace ruff and your little patches that's sewn on. It's just like the most adorable, sweet ghost costume ever. And it makes me wish that I could sew, and it made me wish that I had kids, because I would love to recreate this as a mom if I had children for their Halloween costume. It would just be the cutest ghost costume in the world. But over on this side, for some pumpkin count, I have 179. So 180, 181, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. So I'm up to 186 different pumpkins in this book so far. Next to is our third, like, 3x3 vignette page, this time of potions, and they randomly throw in some molars in a jar. I love that. it's like the 13th jar as well. Super, super cute. You also have a poor taxidermied snake over here, an eyeball that is fuzzing and so much that's making the water bloop out. And what's cool is that each of these corks can be something different here. So you have your normal rotty old corks, and here you have a crystal for a cork, a gemstone for a cork, or a skull for a cork as well. And I do have one pumpkin, so there's a pumpkin in a jar. And here we have the double portrait. She likes doing this in her work where two people seem to stare at each other, and they're sort of surrounded with a little cross between like the sun and the moon, and you know, their broomsticks are crossing, so maybe they're in love with each other, or two witches here with their patchwork quilt hats. There's sunflowers. Oh, the sunflowers are back. And we do have one pumpkin as well, so pumpkin count up by 2 brings me to 188. And we have 3 pumpkin houses and then some really cool, crazy skulls on this side. So my pumpkin houses are the home, it seems, of our little toad witch who's walking around, or shall I say toad wizard? This reminds me more of a wizard's hat, and they have like a little like star wand. Like, I'm gonna call this a toad wizard, not a witch, as they're coming into their pumpkin home. And I believe it's only these 3 pumpkins. I don't see any smaller pumpkins on the side, just like blobs growing on top of blobs. So 3 pumpkins. And then that brings me up to 191 pumpkins so far in the book. This side, I think it could be really beautiful to add in grass. Like, I'm seeing like an overgrowth of grass just kind of surrounding them. And they're really cool, like skulls of creatures with their huge jaws and their big horns and long teeth. So just really beautiful. And again, your eyeball flowers made a reappearance as well. Next you have what I would deem like a wallpaper page. So this has a bunch of small elements just put around. It would make really beautiful, like, actually, why don't we just call these wrapping paper pages? This will be a really cute, like, if you try to recreate wrapping paper, I think this could look nice, especially if you use any like metallic golds, because wrapping paper often has nice foiling on it. And so I can just imagine this being like a nice shiny black background with like gold stars and some other gold elements here to make this like a nice foily wrapping paper. And we have another portrait, so not too many portraits in this book compared to some of her other books. I mean, Soulmates is only portraits, so definitely no book will beat that book for the number of portraits. But we're back to some beautiful sunflowers, and she has stars on her face again. It seems like Hannah has calmed down a tiny bit with the lines around the mouths. And sometimes she has faces where like the lines are just really drawn up, but here she just has like a tiny bit of a line drawn from the mouth. But even that, like, it would have been fine if she took it away, but it's part of her character, I think, is to have lines on her mouth. And I don't see, pumpkin. There is a pumpkin. She's wearing pumpkin earrings over here and seems to have like a little baby crow or baby raven. But if we come here to count some pumpkins, that's so sad. There's a broken bone. Oh, there's no broken bone in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, all right, so 6 pumpkins in total between these 2 pages. Brings me up to 197 pumpkins so far. All right, next we have our couple getting married. They seem to have like a little altar wedding. Maybe it's kind of like that Tim Burton movie of like I don't know, the dead bride. You know, the sad one where she was like deadly in love with someone who wanted to get married and he was not in love with her, and I don't know. It was a weird movie. Tim Burton. It reminds me a tiny bit of that. Corpse Bride. Is that the movie? Probably. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But she's like wearing a wedding dress that has a very, very low cut cleavage, might I say. I mean, she's a skeleton, so she doesn't have a cleavage, but it is, if she was not a skeleton, that would be a very revealing dress for a wedding day, I must say. And and a beautiful bouquets. What I love about this is that all the flowers are blooming and bright, even though they're both like dead. And so it has a nice juxtaposition between like the living and the dead in this page in their little wedding arch. So I could see this done with a bunch of happy, bright spring colors instead of it being dark and gloomy. And they seem so happy. There's something about how they look that makes them seem like they're just smiling and just super, super happy to be there, be together. They're holding hands, and there are no pumpkins on this page, but there's tons of pumpkins here with my little wreath. So this wreath is one that seems to be interrupted with a little spider building its web, but it's a very fall-like wreath with the fall leaves and the acorns that are thrown in. And so for my pumpkin count, I was at 197. So 197, 98, 99, 200, and 201, 202, 3, 4, 5. Whew, 205 pumpkins in the book so far. Next we have what seems to be just like this mad mayhem page that goes from corner to corner, filled with ghosts and mushrooms and baby ghosts, some bugs and death head moths, but no pumpkins. And maybe even some leaves. Like I think these here are like leaves as well. So a nice chaotic page. I would do a limited color palette so that it makes sense, but a really beautiful one there. And then a cat on a moon motif on this side, with 4 pumpkins on her neck, which brings me up to 209 pumpkins. But what's cool here is that this moon has seen better days, y'all. Like, it is a old ratty moon going long in the teeth, so it's even probably like a vampiric moon as well, with that long vampiric tooth over there. And it's like a hole in its skull. So, but the cat seems to love the moon. Maybe they're, ancient lovers, cat of 9 lives, moon of 1 life. So he's at the dregs of his first life, and she's at the end of her 9th life. And that's, why they're the same age, but the cat looks younger. But they seem to be pretty happy looking at each other over here. And next 2 pages are Hocus Pocus. So a witchy page run by a little border, and then some kind of a drink with my little cocktail mixer thing inside with a little skull on it. No mushrooms here or here, which brings me to my 4th or my 5th spread with no mushrooms. I can't keep track of that. And this time we seem to have what looks to be like maybe hellhounds, I'm guessing. They seem to be like dogs that are fluffy, a bit like foxy wolves, with sharp teeth and breathing fire. So just kind of like 2 hellhounds in a circle with some stars on this side. And that brings me to my last page. No pumpkins here, but a gorgeous broken heart. I love this so much. With some melty skulls that have like their long canines. So I guess these are melty vampire skulls, and a cracked broken heart and a little ribbon with a ghost in it. And that's it. That brings me to the end of my flip through of Hannah Karlzon's Halloween book, filled with 209, except if you count the cover, that's 210 pumpkins all together. Quite an amazing feat. Thank you so much for watching this with me. I hope you're able to buy this book. I know it's a bit difficult, I think, for those living stateside to get it, but 100% worth getting it. I think this is my favorite Hannah book so far. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. Happy coloring. Bye!